Hello everyone, good morning. Today is 9th of July and welcome to the Hindu newspaper analysis. So friends, in the today's video, we are going to discuss the entire analysis of the Hindu newspaper along with the background as well as the way forward in the issues. Now guys, first of all, I would like to tell you that this explainer PDF is available on the Telegram channel. If you want to download it, you can download it from there. Now, first of all, before starting, let's see the overview of the entire newspaper so that we can understand that which articles are going to be important into the today's newspaper for our exam. So first of all, on the page number 1, we can see that the former Japanese Prime Minister, Mr. Shinzo Abe, has been assassinated. Now, in this particular respect, guys, we are going to see that what could be the notable contribution and with respect to the policy aspect, we'll see. However, you don't need to go too much into the headline details in this particular article. A very balanced basically understanding needs to be there. Then guys, further moving on, the other issues not important, advertisements etc have been given. Moving to the city section, fine, road repair ignites trigger of war, fine, nothing is important, fine guys. Moving in this particular direction, after that advertisements, regional political issues mainly have been given in these particular pages. So even you might be having a different edition of the Hindu newspaper. If you are from, let's say, basically let's say Tamil Nadu, you might be having the Chennai edition and all that. So these pages don't contain much of important substance. Editorial page. So the first article is talking about the shadow war between the Israel and Iran. The second article is talking about basically the forest landscape conservation. We'll be seeing the article. Beating the heat, again we'll be seeing this article also. Okay, it is talking about the need of the cooling plans, fine, we'll see this thing. Then the next article is talking about the fair pay that has now been announced by the New Zealand, and will actually beyond this particular article we'll be seeing a lot of things as how the equal remuneration for equal work and all these kind of things, fine, how they have are a kind of a constitutional aspirations. Pharmacist and the tailor. So today is the Saturday. On Saturday we have this ground zero report which contains some of the issue from the ground level. Okay, so recently there have been certain targeted killings. Okay, so it is talking about those killings only, fine. However, with respect to the UPSC, nothing substance is there in this article, please avoid it. Then moving on, so today as there's Saturday, text and context page also doesn't comes. And now here moving on, so guys, 13 killed as flash floods hit Yatra camp. Okay, don't take coercive action against TV anchor. Okay, now these articles don't contain much of substance. Okay, so nothing to go here. Differences over Russia dominate G20 meeting. So guys, in this G20 meeting that has happened, there also the Russia Ukraine war etc has been there. Now guys, when we talk about the India has not been very much vocal against the Russia. Clear? Why? Because India needs Russia because of, first of all, the China confrontation with the China that is going on. We need Russia for their mineral oil. Okay, so therefore India has not been very much open, and wherever India participates, okay, so the Russia aspect comes there, fine. However, you don't need to see this all the developments that are going on. Then this particular article talks again by the assassination of the Shinzo Abe, fine. Then further moving on, after that, growth with inclusivity is the main principle of the government. Okay, so basically the Prime Minister had spoken at a kind of at an inaugural session, and there just he had said that we focus on inclusivity. However, apart from that, nothing is there in this article. Then defense exports touch 13,000 crore rupees. Okay, so guys, with respect to the export potential of the defense sector of India, we'll be seeing this particular article. Then the man seeks NOC to export embryo. Now this issue is not important, but the ART Act which has been passed in 2022, will be seeing little bit connection of that particular act with this particular issue. Fine, don't allow manufacture of import of polyester flags, Congress tells this thing. Then again the world page, the Shinzo Abe's death has been discussed, fine. Then guys, we'll be reaching to the world page, the business page. In the business page, the corporate trends, corporate profits etc has been discussed. Nothing very much important in this particular direction. Okay, then the government exempts excise on the ATF. Okay, so the flights will be flying internationally on to their fuel, ATF fuel, the excise will not be there. However, again, not important for your UPSC exam. And then we have this sports page. So guys, this is the overview of the entire newspaper, and we take this so that you understand that which type of articles you need to focus more on. Now let's discuss these relevant articles one by one in the detail. Now, as we do in our every class, we'll be starting with the GS quotation that could be used in one of your GS papers in your answers as well as in essay. So today we'll be taking the quotation from the Norman Cousins. Norman Cousins says that in a democracy, the individual enjoys not only the ultimate power but also carries the ultimate responsibility. So guys, see, in a democracy, how a citizen enjoys this ultimate power. He enjoys the ultimate power by the way of the rights that are given to him. In the Indian Constitution, in the part 3 of the Indian Constitution, fundamental rights have been guaranteed. So by that fundamental rights, the citizens assert a kind of an power. Moreover, guys, the citizens in the democracy can seek the accountability of the government by the regular elections. Okay, so these are the avenues by which the citizen is getting the power. But at the same time, citizen also carries the ultimate responsibility in the form of the duties. In Indian Constitution, we have the fundamental duties in this particular regard. Okay, article number 51A. Moreover, guys, the responsibility is also to make sure that the government is representative of all the interest. Government is being carried by the law as well as the men of the highest ethicality, men of the utmost integrity are entering in the office. Now, just I would like to ask you that have we in India been able to perform this particular responsibility or not? Fine, are the civic responsibilities, civic duties have been followed? And even asking the accountability of government, if I just elaborate on this particular point, Association of Democratic Reforms, ADR, provides that in the present Lok Sabha, around 43% of the legislators, they have criminal background, and out of this 29% they have the serious criminal charges. So this was the responsibility of the citizens even to see that the criminalization of politics doesn't happen. Okay, so these are the certain aspects and certain connections. Now this particular dimension could be utilized in your GS paper number 2. Okay, so that is all guys about the today's GS quote and the idea. Now moving to the first article. Okay, so guys, the first article is former Japanese PM Shinzo Abe assassinated. Now this entire article is just talking that who assassinated, at what time it happened, where it happened, but this is not at all important for our examination. Rather, we will see the contribution that the Shinzo Abe made as a prime minister, and for this particular thing I will be using certain ideas which are not mentioned in this particular article. So some other ideas I'm going to discuss with you. So guys, what is the contribution of the former prime minister Shinzo Abe? First of all, guys, the Prime Minister Shinzo Abe was instrumental in the quadrilateral security dialogue. So quadrilateral security dialogue, which today is the chief Indo-Pacific grouping, which has 4 countries, that is the US, Japan, okay, which has the US, Japan, India and Australia. So this diamond of, now these 4 countries, they were called as the diamond of democracies by the Shinzo Abe. And why specifically the word diamond of democracies is being used? In order to show that this grouping might also have the reason to contain the China's rise, which might be sometime threatening to the world. So this world diamond of democracies and the idea of quadrilateral security dialogue was given by the Shinzo Abe, which is today a very important Indo-Pacific grouping. And secondly, the idea was of womenomics. Now this particular idea is very much important. So guys, what is this womenomics idea? We can even use it in India. Now first of all, guys, the Shinzo Abe, when he came to the power, he came out with this his particular policy of Abenomics. Now what is Abenomics? Abenomics is distinct economic policies that were unleashed by the Shinzo Abe. In this Abenomics, he talked about the 3 arrows of reform. Now these 3 arrows of reforms consisted, number 1, the expansionary monetary policy. Now the expansionary monetary policy means that the economy should be pumped with the money, because over the past few years the Japanese economy has got stagnated. So expansionary monetary policy, pumping the money into the economy, easy monetary policy needs to be there. Then there was the expansionary fiscal policies. Fiscal policy means that the government should spend money. Okay, the tax breaks should be given. Okay, so fiscal and monetary policies were to be expended as the 2 arrows of the Abenomics. And the third arrow was the structural and economic reforms. Structural and economic reforms. Under these structural and economic reforms, the Shinzo Abe advocated that there needs to be the deregulation of economy. Government needs to dilute its presence. Then there needs to be the trade liberalization, tax reforms, industrial restructuring. Now all these were the distinct aspects of the Abenomics. Abenomics. Fine. Now, when we talk about this third arrow, in this particular third arrow, the Shinzo Abe particularly emphasized onto the role of the women in the economy, and because of this particular thing, this thing also came to be known as womenomics. Shinzo Abe wanted that the more and more women should be coming into the workforce, should be holding the position of the leadership. Why? Because there are the two reasons. Number one is a social reason. There has been a social stereotype that the women needs to be in the care work, women needs not to be into the commanding position. This is a social stereotype that has been there. So Shinzo Abe wanted to break that particular stereotype. Moreover, there is also an economic reason for this particular thing. Now guys, when we talk about the Japan, Shinzo Abe believed that the women have been the most underutilized human resource of the Japanese economy. Now guys, if we talk about the Japan, in the Japan, the women, they are highly educated when compared with the other parts of the world. Moreover, they also have higher college enrollment, but still they are not being utilized. Now guys, first of all, whenever we talk about any economy, in the economy, we see that what is the labor force participation rate. Now in the labor force participation rate, we also see that what is the female labor force participation rate. So guys, usually it has been seen that the female actually are not working on par with the men. If I give you the number, recently, into the context of India, what happened, the periodic labor force survey was released, and as per the periodic labor force survey, in India the female labor force participation rate is just 25.1%. Okay, 25.1%. Now compare it with the Japan. In Japan, the labor force participation rate was around 63.2% in 2010, but Shinzo Abe wanted that still it is less, it is needed to be increased. Fine, on par with the OECD country. Here specifically we have the example of Sweden. In Sweden, the female labor force participation rate stands to around 88%, and by this particular thing, the economy of Sweden has been boosted. Now the Shinzo Abe wanted that even the more number of women can be brought into the employment. For that, Shinzo Abe came out with many kind of reforms. Okay, they were given the paid leaves. Okay, they were given the preference into the board positions. Okay, and by this particular thing, Japan's women labor force participation rate during the time of the Shinzo Abe, due to his Abenomics, increased to 66.7% by 2015. So guys, now secondly, female labor force participation rate increasing was even more important for the Japan. Why? Because Japan's population is graying. Japan population is becoming old, and it is being provided that elder people will make 40% of the total population by 2060. Okay, and until more women come into the labor force, the Japan's taxes, Japan's revenues are going to decline. Now see this particular thing, though we are not having right now the problem of old population. India is one of the youngest country into the world with an average of 29 years, but still in India the women happens to be the most underutilized asset. How I can say this particular thing? Because according to periodic labor force survey, just female labor force participation rate is 25.1%. So in India also there is a kind of a chance that the womenomics of Shinzo Abe could be implemented. Okay, so this is high time that we should take a lesson from the Shinzo Abe. So guys, these are the ideas that could be taken from the Shinzo Abe, and please do use it in your answers. Okay, so I have not discussed that who assassinated him, whether he was arrested it or not, because these kind of things are not at all important for our exam. Fine, so this is all about it, and now guys, we'll be moving to the next article. Okay, so this article we have taken from the editorial section. It talks about the recent decision by the New Zealand, where New Zealand had provided that in the cricket, men and the women, they will be paid equally. So women will be paid equal to the male counterparts. Now this is a historic thing that has come. First of all, we'll discuss this entire issue, that what has happened, and then guys, we'll be seeing specific with the into the Indian context, that what lesson India can learn from this New Zealand's decision. Okay, so there will be a lot of value addition that we are going to discuss beyond the scope of this particular article. So first of all, let's see the development and where we are going to use it. We are going to use it in GS paper number 2 as well as GS paper number 1. So in GS paper number 1, there are the social issues. Within the social issues, there are the gender issues that we can use. And in GS paper number 2, the social justice. In the social justice also, the women related issues will count. So in GS 1, GS paper number 2, both places this particular article will be important. Moreover guys, this particular article can also be used as a good example in GS paper number 4, gender equality. GS paper number 4, gender equality. Now see, so basically we find this particular thing that there are the gender wage gaps. Now first of all, what is this concept of the gender wage gap? It means that for the same work, the women are actually paid differently. Okay, if a man is being paid 100 rupees for the same work, the women will be paid 80 rupees, 90 rupees. So this differential between the wage is called as the gender wage gap. And according to global, okay, according to gender gap report, okay, according to the gender gap report, there gender wage gap is one of the biggest difference between the genders. Is it clear or not? Now in this particular direction, New Zealand has decided that they will be paying the female cricketers equally as they are paying to the males. Now this particular thing is very good. It should be appreciated and should be followed by another countries. In this particular respect guys, recently the United States also said that the women's national the national footballers, the women footballers, they will be paid equally as the male. Now this was a long battle that happened, and guys earlier such kind of a battle has been carried into the tennis also. Now these are the good things that have been there. Now guys, when we talk about the context of India, in the India, particularly when we talk about the cricket, which happens to be one of the most important sport in India, we find that there is the monetary gap between the compensation gap between the men and the women. Now many times this particular gap has been justified also by saying this particular thing that actually there the women's cricket, it has the lower market ratings, and because the women cricket has lower market ratings, women cannot be paid on par with the men. But guys, this is not entirely the true thing. Okay, basically the thing is that actually we have not focused historically on the women sports persons. Fine, there have been the lack of facilities, there have been no focused attention. If the focused attention will be given, the women can outperform the men or can perform equally with the men, and we have certain examples in this particular direction also. For example, the example of Saina Nehwal and the PV Sindhu is there. Because the structure was good, because they were given the opportunities, they have actually found the success into the sports, and they are a very well played sports person that are there. So basically guys, what has been there have been the social discrimination against the women. When men play sports, it is called as that it is an organic exercise. Fine, they are bound to do that particular thing. So because not because the physically or biologically the women are different, it is because socially women have been discriminated. They have not been able to participate into the sports, and because of that their acceptance into the sports is low, and because of that even they are being paid less. Now guys, it is being provided that now the high time has come that basically this vicious cycle of fewer women accessing sports, fewer women becoming professional, and hence fewer women having commercial opportunities should be broken. Basically there is a vicious cycle. What is the cycle? I'll tell you. First of all, very less number of women come in the sports, very less number of women come into the sports. Because they come less into the sports, there is less facilities for the women. Because there is a less facilities of the women, less women are getting successful, and because less women are getting successful, again the less women are coming into the sporting arena. So this vicious circle comes here. Okay, now this vicious circle is to be broken. How it is to be broken? With the dedicated intervention, and women are to be encouraged. So this is guys something that is happening. Now guys, as we have seen that the New Zealand had enforced the equal wages for the men and the women, let's see what is the situation in the India. So guys, we'll be moving a little bit beyond of this particular article. First of all guys, when we talk about the India, in the Constitution of India, we have the directive principle of state policy, and within the DPSP, Article 39D is there. Article 39D specifically talks about the idea of equal pay for equal work. According to Article 39D, there is no logic giving the differential wages to the men and the women. Moreover, in this particular direction, government has also come out with the Equal Remuneration Act, which provides that the wages needs not to be different. But guys, still, if I give you the data given by the ILO, gender wage gap in India is at 34%. Now what does this means? 34%, it means that the women are being paid 34% less what the men are getting for the same job. Okay, so guys, actually the implementation of equal wage, equal pay for equal work has not been implemented. Now let's see that what the Supreme Court says on paying equally to the women. So guys, the Supreme Court does not has one stand in this particular thing. Stand has actually changed over the years. Now let's see this particular thing. For example, in 1962, the Kishori Mohan Lal Bakshi versus Union of India judgment came. In this particular judgment, Supreme Court provided that right now the India is not capable of enforcing the equal pay for equal work, and even the court cannot enforce that particular thing. If this particular reform has to come, it should come from the government. So this was one where equal pay for equal work was said that okay, it is good, but we cannot enforce it right now. Then the second judgment which comes here is of 1982, that is the Randhir Singh versus Union of India judgment. Now in this Randhir Singh versus Union of India judgment, Supreme Court provided this, that basically equal pay for equal work should be enforced, and giving equal pay for equal work, implementing this Article 39D will reinforce the Article 14 and 16 of the Indian Constitution. So it should be given, okay, and it needs to be enforced. However guys, now recently in 2022, Supreme Court had delivered one more judgment also. What is this judgment? This judgment is the State of Madhya Pradesh versus R.D. Sharma judgment. In this particular thing, the Supreme Court had provided this particular thing, that the equal pay for equal work is not a fundamental right vested in any employee. The Supreme Court said that though it is a constitutional goal, that we should achieve equal pay for equal work, but it is not a fundamental right. Government, if it wants, it can come out with such kind of a thing, and even government should enforce it. Okay, court does not have a power that it can make it mandatory. So guys, this is the status with respect to the equal pay for equal work. Now what is the case? Even guys, if there is, let's say, no legal obligation onto the government needs to take a moral or an ethical responsibility of bringing this particular thing. Okay, and the example of New Zealand is a good example that needs to be emulated. So that is all about this particular article. And now let's move to the next article. A plan that is much more than just planting trees. Okay, so this is the article we taken from the Hindu editorial section, and it talks about the forest landscape restoration. And this particular article could be used in GS paper number 3 environment. Okay, now let's see what the article says. So basically guys, this article, it talks about the forest landscape restoration and how it is a win-win situation for the people, for the environment, and for the communities. So guys, it says that basically a recent case study of Punjab has been given, which could be utilized in your answers. So what happened? Punjab recently roped the 100 women under the MG Narega scheme. Now you know MG Narega, it stands for Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, under which the people, they are given guaranteed 100 days of employment for the unskilled work. So 100 women were enrolled under the MG Narega, and they were given the task of planting the trees. So they planted tree. Along with them, the people from the local club also joined, then the district administration also joined, and all of them together planted the tree. So guys, this is a perfect example, first of all, of the community effort. Okay, community restoration of the trees, very good example. Now it has been provided that actually we need to restore our forest, we need to regenerate our the degraded forest. According to the IUCN, that is the International Union of Conservation of Nature, IUCN says this particular thing, that because of the deforestation that has happened and the degradation of the forest that has happened, it is leading to 12% of the global greenhouse gas emissions. Is it clear? Now you just connect this particular thing with the pledge that India has taken in the COP26 that was organized recently. In the COP26, India said that we will achieve the carbon neutrality by 2070. Now, in order to achieve the carbon neutrality, number one, you need to reduce your emission, and number two, you need to increase your sequestration. Carbon absorption will not happen if our forest will be degraded. Now, if we see with respect to the India, it has been said that the primary forest, its area has been decreased by 3.6% into the past few years. So, restoring the forest will not only have an environmental role, it is also an international obligation of India. Now, guys, when we talk about the efforts, government have relied on the afforestation, reforestation, okay, on the non-tree land, okay. And right now the focus is needed not only onto the barren lands or the lands where the trees were not there, you need to plant, but the forest landscape restoration needs to be done. What is the landscape restoration? An area where the forests were there, but now the forests have been degraded, they have been cut, they are needed to be restored. This is something that is needed in this particular direction. Secondly, it has been provided that when we are talking about the forest regeneration, a very specific importance is to be given that only the diversity, see, first of all, the diversity of the species needed to be there, and secondly, the native trees are to be planted. Why the native trees are to be planted? Because the native trees, they have survival rate of around 90%, and as they are native from that particular thing, they will not be intrusive to the environment also. Sometimes what happen, we bring the exotic species, the species which don't belong into that area, and then it disturbs the entire ecology. So therefore, planting the native tree is very much important. Now basically, it has been, there are certain facts as how the forest can help. So guys, annually forest absorb around 2.6 billion ton of carbon dioxide. So in order to achieve the carbon neutrality, the forests are very much helpful. Fine, 2.6 billion ton of carbon dioxide. Moreover, this absorption includes nearly 33% of the carbon dioxide released from burning fossil fuels. Secondly, it has been provided that when we talk about the forest not only have environmental dimension, they also have a human dimension. How? Because many of the people's tribal communities, their livelihood, their survival is connected with the forest. From forest, they collect they collect a lot of biological resources, fine, and all that kind of things. According to the World Resource Institute, forest ecosystem, they enrich soil fertility, they ensure the water availability, then has even the agricultural productivity. Moreover, guys, when we talk about the tree planting, it also prevents the soil erosion. Fine. Moreover, landslides which are very recently being observed into many parts of the country, they can also be provided by the forestry. Then agroforestry, okay, agroforestry, fine, using a kind of a sustainable agriculture along with the forestry, it lessens the rural urban migration. Okay, so even onto the agriculture land, if some trees you use, fine, it provide additional income, arrest the migration from the rural areas. Now, what are the India's efforts in this particular respect, and what are the international efforts in this particular respect? That is something we are going to see. First of all, the decade of 2021 to 2030, it is being observed as the United Nations decade on ecosystem restoration, where it is expected that all the UN member countries, they will be restoring back the forest. Moreover, after that, there is a Bond challenge also that has been taken by India. Now, what is the Bond challenge? Bond challenge has certain targets of restoring the forest. According to it, 150 million hectares of the degraded and the deforested landscape is to be restored by 2020, and then 350 million hectares of land is to be restored by 2030. Now, India had taken the Bond challenge, and what are the India's target? India has taken the challenge in 2015, and India pledged that we will restore 26 million hectares of the degraded and deforested land by 2030. And but in this particular direction, guys, we see actually the area of the primary forest, it has got decreased. Secondly, guys, India is running many of the schemes and many of the initiatives also for the restoration of forest. For example, there is the compensatory afforestation program. Now, guys, there is a compensatory afforestry, then there is a compensatory afforest management authority is there. Basically, what happens, suppose you want to install some industry in a forest area, in a jungle area, you are cutting certain trees. Now, because you have cut certain trees, you have to contribute some monetary compensation, and that money will be going in for the compensatory afforestry. Means by that money, some other trees, other plants have to be planted. After that, national afforestation program, government government is running, National Mission for Green India or Green India Mission government is running, then the Nagar One scheme, okay, the forest fire prevention and management scheme. All these particular schemes aims to conserve our forest. Fine. Then moreover, basically green skill development program government is also running. What is this green skill development program? Here the youth will be trained who want to make their career in the forest sector into the environment sector. The state government also have come out with their own unique initiatives. For example, Telangana government had come out with the tree planting program called as Telangana Ku Haritha Haram. Okay, so this is the program that they have also come out with. So guys, there are actually the programs, there are the initiatives that are there, and there are obvious benefits also of the restoration of the forest. But what we need to have, we need to have a proper implementation. Proactive implementation is which is actually missing, and it is not only here. In most of the government schemes, implementation is often missing. So this is to be emphasized. That is all about this particular article, and now we'll move to the next article. Beating the heat. Okay, so this article will be using with respect to the GS paper number 2 as well as GS paper number 3, climate change, okay, and its implications, climate change and its implications. Now, first of all, I will be giving you the context of this particular editorial that has come. So guys, why this editorial has been written? Because yesterday we have discussed this particular article where I have told you that according to the report by the CSE, that is the Center for Science and Environment, they had provided that in the last decade, the temperatures are increasing. So we have seen this particular thing yesterday. I will again tell you so that you can make the sense of this particular article. So guys, what had happened? The CSE, it has taken up a baseline of 1951 to 1980, and the temperatures now are being compared with the 1950 to 1980 period. And according to them, it has been provided that in across all the seasons, the temperatures are increasing. According to them, annually, the temperatures have increased 0.61 degrees Celsius. Now, first of all, when we talk about the winters, for example, winters, according to basically this particular thing, the winters have become 0.68 degree hotter. The pre-monsoon season has become 0.49 degree hotter. Particularly the monsoons have become hotter. The monsoons were the seasons where we used to feel that it will bring a kind of a period of coolness, but it has also become hotter. Even the post-monsoon period had become hotter by 0.73%. Is it clear or not? In total, annual temperature rise have been there. So this is the study by the CSE. Now this particular thing provides this particular thing that the world is facing the problem of heat extremes. Now when we talk about the heat extremes, particularly the heat extremes are much higher than in the urban areas compared to the rural areas. Why? Because into the urban area we see the phenomena of the urban heat island effect. Now when we talk about the urban heat island effect, the city, what it means that the cities, they tend to be more hotter. Why? Because the cities, they are more concretized. They are cities, they have more concrete. Because of that, they absorb more heat. Moreover, the dark surfaces are high into the cities. Now the dark surfaces, for example, the bituminous, charcoal, black color roads are there, which will absorb more heat. Moreover, the glass structures are there which absorb heat. Okay, then the steel, iron usage is high into the urban areas, and all of them absorb more heat, and at the end of the day, the city temperature is higher than the rural temperature. We call this phenomena as the urban heat island effect. So not only the temperature is increasing, the cities are becoming even more hotter in the present times. Now because the heat extremes are increasing, recently the Gujarat, even we have seen in our newspaper analysis that Gujarat had started the heat action plan. Under this heat action plan, they will be taking up the strategies that how the cities can be kept cool in a natural way. Now, learning from the Gujarat, the National Disaster Management Authority is now working with the 23 out of the 28 states which are more prone to the heat attacks, and they are developing the heat action plan. Fine, regional heat action plans for the states are being developed. Now guys, when we talk about the heat action plans, what they are, the focus is that how we can use such kind of materials that keep our indoors cooler. how we can come out with an early warning system in case if there are the heat waves that are coming, how the early warning system can be there so that the people are being given the warning that they should stay indoors. Moreover, basically the health infrastructure is also to be improved to treat the people who have suffered the heat strokes. Okay, so that area is also to be focused. So all these focuses will be there into the heat action plan that the government is now, the National Disaster Management Authority is now planning. But guys, at the same time, we also need to focus on one more thing. Basically, government in the budget specifically needs to provide the financial incentives as how the cooling plans are to be designed for the state level, district level, rural level. Okay, guys, right now the poor people, always poor people have been at the receiving end, always injustice happens with them. Now the, because of the heat, a new type of injustice is happening because they are the ones who are suffering these heat strokes. Fine, not many times able to access the medical facilities, so financial incentives for this cooling plan is to be given as a part of the justice, social justice. This is all which have been there in this particular article. Now we'll be moving to the next article. A shadow war between Israel and Iran. Now guys, see this particular article, it is talking about the reference from a book, The Secret War with the Iran. The Secret War with the Iran. Now just understand this particular thing guys, that see, you don't need to go too much into the detail in this particular article because it is a particular viewpoint where which is being talking about the Israel and Iran dispute. Fine. However, when we talk about the Israel and Iran, directly the implication with respect to the India are not mentioned in this particular article. So therefore the article is not that much important for our UPSC examination. However, if your optional is the political science and international relation, I had provided into the synoptic notes the summary of this particular article, you can read. Otherwise not that much important, much important substances not there. Article is talking into the general sense that see, when article says that the Iran and the Israel relation around 1970s were actually improving. Okay, but after that what happened, the Israel actually started to get threatened by the Iran. Israel threatened that if Iran's nuclear program will develop, if Iran will become more stable economy, then Iran might overshadow the Israel. And since then it is being said that the ideological reasons, the religious reasons, okay, are being used to carry forward this particular thing. And whenever there are the effort of the Western world to normalize the relation with the Iran, the Israel doesn't like that particular thing, and it is saying that though outright war is not going on, but a kind of a secret war is going on between the Israel and Iran. Fine. Now into this particular secret war, fine, what has happened? Israel had attacked the Iran. Now guys, here particular word has been mentioned which we can use, and this word I would like to discuss. Octopus doctrine. Octopus doctrine. Okay, now guys, what is this octopus doctrine? So you might have seen octopus, fine, which have multiple tentacles. So it is being provided that if you want to kill an octopus, you cannot kill it by hitting on its tentacles. You need to hit on the head of the octopus. So guys, into this particular octopus doctrine, what has happened? Israel had carried many of the covert operations inside the Iran. So the the Israel wants to destabilize Iran from within. Fine, this is something that has been provided. After that guys, specific issues within these countries from the history etc are being given. Here you don't need to go too much into this particular thing because specific India centric dimension is not too much. Now that is all, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Defense exports touch 13,000 crores officials. Okay, see, these numbers are not that much important, that how many thousand crores, but the trend is more important for our exam. So guys, we are going to see this particular thing with respect to the GS paper number 3, the indigenization of the defense sector plus Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, Atmanirbharta into the defense sector. We are going to see this particular article. So the article says that actually the defense exports for 2021-2022 they are going to be around 13,000 crore. Again I'm saying number is not important. What is important is that the highest ever defense exports India might be seeing in 2021-2022. And who will be the contributing to exports? Private sector will contribute around 70% into the exports, whereas the public sector will contribute around 30% into the exports. First of all, guys, if we see here, fine, don't think that basically the private sector has only improved. Yes, private sector's export potential has improved, but the public sector's export potential is also improved. Why? Because traditionally, when the weaponry export was there from the India, 90% was actually being done by the private sector and only 10% was being done by the government. But now, government PSUs, okay, government PSUs are also developing the capabilities. They are developing the state of the art weaponry and they are exporting it. Now, guys, in this particular direction, we have also taken this particular article in few days back that India has also signed more than 375 million dollar deal around approximately with the Philippines. Fine. And this happens to be our biggest defense order that we got from a country, that is from the Philippines. Moreover, guys, now further, in order to enhance the export potential of our defense, what has happened, basically India will also be working on nurturing the artificial intelligence, AI. Okay, AI. Now basically we know this particular thing, that the nature of the warfare is changing. Nature of the warfare, modern warfare, is changing. Artificial intelligence is going to play a very important role. Now basically the defense ministry is also working that how AI based weaponry, AI based systems can be installed. In this particular capacity, since 2018, defense ministry is brainstorming. Moreover, there is also the AI, artificial intelligence task force, that has been created. Now this artificial intelligence task force is identifying the AI related challenges as well as opportunities. Okay. Moreover, guys, there are 75 initiatives that right now we are working upon and they might be launched. So guys, this is a novel initiative that India is taking up. Fine. So that is all, guys, about this particular article. I hope that you have understood it. And now we'll move to the next article. Man seeks NOC to export embryo. Okay. Now, guys, this is the issue of a particular man who is not getting a permission. Not that much important, but the concept here is something that we should be knowing. First of all, guys, what is the issue? I'll tell you from the very scratch. So the issue goes like this. Let's see. There is the problem of infertility. There is the problem of infertility. What is the problem of infertility? Problem of infertility is there when the people are not able to conceive a child even when they want to. According to the aims, 10 to 15% of the couple in India, they are facing the problem of infertility. They want to have a child but they are not able to conceive that. Is it clear? Now when we talk about the infertility, in order to treat that, there are certain technologies that can be used. For example, there is the in vitro fertilization that can be used. Okay. Then, guys, after that there is the intracytoplasmic seismic injection that could be utilized. Okay. After that, guys, there is intrauterine insemination that could be utilized. Fine. Just I am telling you the name of the technologies. Okay. So there are certain technologies by which the people who are not able to conceive a child, they could be provided the ways that they can conceive a child. So guys, using these particular technologies for the reproduction, fine, these technologies are called as the ARTs, assisted reproductive technologies. Okay, the technologies which will help people to conceive a child. Now, guys, you see in India there is a big fertility industry that is going on, but this fertility industry was not regulated till now. Finally, in 2022, government has passed this ART Act, and the name of the ART Act is 2020 ART Act 2021. It stands for Assisted Reproductive Technologies Act, and this want to regulate this entire fertility industry. Now, guys, when we talk about the assisted reproductive technologies involves the it involves the handling of the gametes. Okay, what are the gametes? Gametes are the sex cells. Okay, so there are the female gametes, that is the female sex cell, and when we talk about the female gametes, we have oocytes, eggs, which are the female gametes, and then the male gametes are there. Fine. So female gametes, okay, zygotes, embryos, they are to be handled into the ART. Now the ART Act of 2021 provided that, okay, these things could be handled, these things will be used for providing the fertility, but the ART Act provided that basically these gametes, zygotes, embryos, they cannot be directly or indirectly be transferred outside India. outside India. You cannot export the gametes, embryos, etc. They can only be used for the personal use. They can only be used for the personal use. But if they have to be used for the personal use, they fine. The permission is to be taken from the National Assisted Reproductive Technology and the Surrogacy Board, which was created under this particular ART Act. Now, guys, understand, I'm making one particular thing very clear if it is not clear to you. In India, if you want to use ART, you don't need to take approval from this National ART Board. Only if you want to export the gametes or the embryos outside India for personal use, then only you have to take the permission. Now let's understand this particular issue little bit more. Basically, guys, along with the ART, you might have heard one more word, that is the surrogacy. The surrogacy. Now, what is surrogacy? Guys, surrogacy is planting the embryo in the body of some another women. Sometimes women, they are not able to conceive a child. So what happens, the basically embryo or the fetus is conceived in some another woman's body, and this mother is called as the surrogate mother. Now in India, the surrogacy was going on very much rampantly, but guys, along with this ART bill, okay, please focus here very carefully. Along with this particular ART bill, we have also come out with the Surrogacy Regulation Act. Now, when we talk about the surrogacy, there could be two types of surrogacy. One is the commercial surrogacy and other is the altruistic surrogacy. Okay, let me write altruistic surrogacy. What is commercial surrogacy? When you are paying some money to the other women to be your surrogate. And altruistic surrogacy is which is being done out of love or compassion without any monetary compensation. Okay, so right now in India, the commercial surrogacy which was earlier going on is now banned. Okay, keep it, now it is banned. Now what is the situation? Situation is this: set suppose there is a couple. Now they are not able to conceive a child. Okay, even the ART is not help them. Fine, they need to use the service of a surrogate mother. But let's say in India, they are not able, but now what is the situation in India? The commercial surrogacy is banned and only altruistic surrogacy is allowed. Let's say they don't have any such relative who is ready to become their surrogate mother. Altruistic surrogacy is, let's say, not possible for these people. So what they want to do? They want to find a commercial surrogate. In India, it is not allowed. So what they can do? They can go to some another country. For example, they can go to the USA. In USA, they can find a lady who can become a surrogate mother. Okay, but they want to supply their own gametes. They want that their sperm, their egg should be utilized by this particular mother. Okay, so for that, what they need to do? They need to export the embryo outside the country. Now, guys, fine, commercial export is not allowed. You can export for your own personal use, and for that what is needed? We need to have the approval of this National ART Surrogacy Board. Okay, this is something that is happening. Now what this case is that the person has applied but he did not got the approval, so now he had moved to the High Court. But this is not something that we are interested in. Fine, what we need to see this entire concept. However, guys, the concept is not mentioned in this article, so I had explained you beyond the scope of this particular article, and I hope that you have understood this entire issue. Okay, so that is about it. And guys, with this we come to an end to the today's newspaper analysis. So guys, that is all. Now we will be meeting on to the Monday. Okay, you might be knowing this particular thing that we take the analysis from Monday to Saturday. Sunday we don't have text and context. Sunday we don't have the editorial section. Sunday actually the FAQ section comes in the Hindu, which necessarily contains all the news that already we have discussed. Okay, so guys, please keep Sunday as a day for consolidation and revision of your articles. Okay, I have seen 99.9% of the students just they are focused on reading, but without revising, the reading will not make any sense. Okay, the facts that we are discussing, you should be able to reproduce them in your answers. Fine, so please make a very good habit that the Sundays you will be keeping for the consolidation and revision of the entire week's analysis that has been there. Okay, so that is all, guys, about today, and now we'll be meeting on Monday. Till then, please take care of yourselves. Thank you so much, and if you have liked the video, please do hit the like button. That is a very important thing for us, fine, because it helps us to know that whether you are liking it or not. Okay, and if there is something you want or some suggestion, or if you liked it, please do leave a comment also. Thank you so much.